And tonight, once again, we have to give you news and information you will not get from the Destroy Trump establishment media. Now, despite President Trump repeatedly condemning the horrific, inexcusable acts of violence and, of course, white supremacy again and again, all that took place in Charlottesville this weekend, Democrats, the Destroy Trump media, continue to viciously attack the commander-in-chief and falsely, again, accusing him of being racist and being bigoted. And just like they accuse Republicans, right? We've chronicled this how many years? Every 2 to 4 years, they do that during elections. Well, earlier today, the president fought back. He did it in a big way. He let the media have it during a press event at Trump Tower, where he once again condemned these white supremacist groups. Watch this.
I've condemned neo-Nazis. I've condemned many different groups, but not all of those people were neo-Nazis, believe me. Not all of those people were white supremacists by any stretch. You had a group on one side and you had a group on the other, and they came at each other with clubs, and it was vicious, and it was horrible, and it was a horrible thing to watch. But there is another side. There was a group on this side, you can call them the left, you've just called them the left, that came violently attacking the other group. So you can say what you want, but that's the way it is.
He also repeatedly called out the fake news media. Watch this.
If the press were not fake, and if it was honest, the press would have said what I said was very nice. But unlike you and unlike the media, before I make a statement, I like to know the facts. That was a horrible, horrible day. Wait a minute, I'm not finished. I'm not finished, fake news. I'm not finished, fake news. The mainstream media, once again, hysterical. Complete meltdown mode today because President Trump told some truths. Yes, there are a lot of truths here. White supremacist groups, they are disgusting. They are despicable. All people of goodwill and conscience agree. But there was both sides causing violence. Want to believe it? Take a look. This is out of control violence. It is complete mayhem. The people that provoked this, yeah, I'll agree. They were the white supremacists. They are the ones that are most responsible. And you know what? Let me say this about some of the protesters. They came out for all the right reasons. This brings out a morally justifiable anger in people that are that ignorant. But it does not give these alt-left protesters, doesn't give people of good conscience even, the right to attack them, punch them, hit them, etc. We completely disagree with everything these white supremacist groups stand for, believe in. They're not conservatives. They're not Republicans. We don't know these people. Small percentage of the population. But under the First Amendment in this country, they have a right to say hateful, awful, and even racist things, whether we like it or not. Now, the ACLU tonight, one of the biggest Trump-hating groups, even defended these white supremacists and their right to hold the rally. Now, this group even put out a statement. They said, quote, "The First Amendment is a critical part of our democracy. It protects even vile, hateful, and ignorant speech. And for this reason, the ACLU of Virginia defended the white supremacist right to march, but we will not be silent in the face of white supremacy. Those who stand silent enable it, including the president." And the ACLU also tweeted, "Not sure," pay attention, because they're repeating what the president said, "not sure who provoked first. Both sides were hitting each other at Justice Park before the police arrived." They also added, "The guy on the ground is a Unite the Right protester. Those in black and red are Antifa protesters." And where are the police, by the way? Is anyone asking that question tonight? Why didn't the Democratic Governor Terry McAuliffe, the Democratic mayor of this city, why did they not order the police to stop the violence sooner? And if the police were outgunned, like Terry McAuliffe said, why did he not request the National Guard be called in? And there's the fact, the Destroy Trump media, they will never, ever be satisfied with how many times the president condemns racism, violence, white supremacy, bigotry, the likes of which we saw this weekend in Charlottesville. How many times does this president have to say it? Let's take a look at President Trump's original comments on this before the white supremacist madman plowed into people with his car. Here's what the president tweeted soon after, quote, "We all must be united and condemn all that hate stands for. There's no place for this kind of violence in America. Let's come together as one." And the president went on to say, "We must remember this truth. No matter of our color, creed, religion, or political party, we are all Americans first.
And last night, if you remember on the program, I showed how many times over the years that the president condemned white supremacy, condemned the Klan, condemned David Duke. The media never points that out. And after the protest turned deadly, President Trump, he immediately came out and immediately condemned what was going on. Watch this.
We condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides. On many sides.
Strongest possible terms, and the ACLU says there were two sides here. Now, all weekend long, the media in this country, they were unhinged, pretending like they didn't know what the president was even talking about. They ran wild with a narrative that he didn't mention the groups by name, so somehow that makes him sympathetic to these white supremacists. So President Trump, once again, he came out yesterday. He condemned what happened. He called out these groups by name. They don't pay attention to this part. Watch.
Racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as Americans.
Hate groups repugnant to everything we hold dear. But, of course, that's not good enough for the media and the left wing in this country. Now, a quick sidebar. Where was the media, what was it, 6 weeks ago? A Bernie Sanders supporter, one of his supporters targeting Republicans at a baseball practice, leaving Congressman Steve Scalise, the third-ranking Republican in the House of Representatives, fighting for his life. The gunman had an assassination of Republicans list. Where was the media blaming the Democrats the same way they're now blaming Trump? But back to the topic at hand. So once again, after condemning these groups, President Trump had to explain to the press exactly why he didn't immediately jump to conclusions like, for example, President Obama did again and again when things happen. Take a look at this.
Here's the thing. When I make a statement, I like to be correct. I want the facts. This event just happened. In fact, a lot of the event didn't even happen yet as we were speaking. This event just happened. Before I make a statement, I need the facts. So I don't want to rush into a statement. So making the statement when I made it was excellent.
Now, President Trump, really, when you think about it, he's right, and we need to learn from the mistakes of Barack Obama. Nobody, especially the President of the United States, should ever rush to judgment and make a situation work. President Obama did it numerous times in these high-profile racial cases while he was president, and he rushed to conclusions before facts came out. Take a look.
The Cambridge police acted stupidly. There is a long history in this country of African Americans and Latinos being stopped by law enforcement disproportionately. And that's just a fact. When Trayvon Martin was first shot, I said that this could have been my son. And we have to close the justice gap. How justice is applied, but also how it is perceived, how it is experienced. That's what we saw in Ferguson this summer when Michael Brown was killed and the community was divided.
Now, President Obama rushed to judgment in 4 high-profile cases. He got the facts wrong in the end, and guess what? It led to false narratives being created, lies being spread, like Michael Brown, hands up, don't shoot, and that myth. I've covered these issues in detail. Then there's the issue of the leftists destroying public property, tearing down monuments like we saw happening yesterday in Durham, in North Carolina. Now, you can disagree with these statements. You may not like these monuments. By the way, you can fight politically. You can shout people down and say anything you want to say. But is there not the rule of law that needs to be applied here? In other words, you can go up so far with speech and say anything you want, but you can't punch. You can't beat, you can't tackle, you can't fight with people just because you hate what they're saying, even when what they say is disgusting. Interestingly, even the ACLU agrees with me and the president on that tonight. Now, the president also reacted to this issue. Take a look.
You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name. George Washington was a slave owner. Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Are we going to take down, excuse me, are we going to take down statues to George Washington? How about Thomas Jefferson? What do you think of Thomas Jefferson? You like him?
I do love
Okay, good. Are we going to take down the statue? Because he was a major slave owner. Now, we're going to take down his statue.